Morphology of flowering plants. Morphology of flowering plants. The body consists of main axis, which may be branched or unbranched, bearing lateral appendages. The main axis is divided into two parts. The one is root system and another is shoot system. The underground root system develops from the radicle of embryo and helps in fixation of plant as well as absorption of water and minerals. The aerial shoot system develops from the plumule of the embryo. It contains root, stem, leaves as vegetative parts and flowers, fruit and seeds as reproductive parts. The vegetative parts are involved in various vegetative functions like structural organization, fixation, absorption, nourishment, growth, and then maintenance of various components, and reproductive parts are for sexual reproduction and germination of seeds to make the new plant. Morphology of flowering plants. The wide range in the structure of higher plants will never fail to fascinate us. Even though the angiosperms show such a large variety in external structure or morphology, they are all characterized by presence of roots, stems, leaves, flowers and fruits. In chapters 2 and 3, we talked about classification of plants based on morphological and other characteristics. For any successful attempt at classification and at understanding any plants, we need to know standard technical terms and standard definitions. We also need to know about the possible variations in different parts found as adaptations of the plants to their environment. Example, adaptations to various habitats for protection, climbing, storage, etc. Morphology of flowering plants. The body consists of main axis, which may be branched or unbranched, bearing lateral appendages. The main axis is divided into two parts. The one is root system and another is shoot system. The underground root system develops from the radicle of embryo and helps in fixation of plant as well as absorption of water and minerals. The aerial shoot system develops from the plumule of the embryo. It contains root, stem, leaves as vegetative parts and flowers, fruit and seeds as reproductive parts. The vegetative parts are involved in various vegetative functions like structural organization, fixation, absorption, nourishment, growth, and then maintenance of various components, and reproductive parts are for sexual reproduction and germination of seeds to make the new plant. The root. A typical root contains 5 regions. In plant, the root is a non-green, cylindrical and descending part that normally grows down into the soil, and the 5 regions include the root cap or calyptra, the growing point zone, and the zone of elongation, and root hair zone, and then zone of maturation. In root cap, the root is covered at the apex by a thimble or cap-like structure called the root cap. It protects the root stem from friction of the soil particles. Example, lemna and acornia. And the next is growing point zone. It is small, thin, walled region having dense protoplasm. It lies partly within beyond the root cap. Its cells divide regularly and repeatedly for elongation. It is responsible for the growth of the root. And zone of elongation. It is situated behind the meristematic region. The cells elongate speedily and increase the length of the root. This region can absorb water and minerals from the soil. And the next is root hair zone. It is the region where primary tissues differentiate into the root. The vascular tissue like xylem and phloem are formed in this region. Root hair zone is the most important part of the root for absorption of water from the soil. In aquatic plants, root hairs are absent and the roots are not well developed. And the last is the zone of maturation. This zone contains mature cells. It forms the permanent zone of the root. Example in dicots and gymnosperms. Types of root system. It consists of two types, taproot system and then adventitious root system. The taproot system develops from the radicle of embryo of a seed. Primary root persists and becomes stronger to form taproot. The first root formed by the elongation of radicle is called the primary root. It produces lateral roots called as secondary roots. The further branches of the secondary roots are called as tertiary roots. Example, pea plant, gram, groundnut, etc. Adventitious root system. The roots developing from any part of the plant other than radicle are known as adventitious roots. These are usually found in monocots, and this adventitious root is divided into three: fibrous roots, foliar roots, and then true adventitious roots. In fibrous roots, the primary root soon gets replaced by a cluster of slender thread-like roots originating from the base of the stem in monocotyledonous plants. Example, Triticum vulgare, Oryza sativa and Allium cepa. And the next is foliar roots. These roots develop from the leaf. Example, Pogo stemon and then rubber plant. True adventitious roots. These roots develops from the knots and internodes of the stem. Modifications of root. The modifications are the changes in shape, form or structure in any organ to carry out simple functions. Modification of roots are found in both taproots and as well as in adventitious roots. The taproots are modified for the functions like storage, nitrogen fixation and respiration. Conical roots. These are fleshy taproots that resemble a cone. Example, carrot. Fusiform roots. The primary root is spindle shaped. It is swollen in the middle and gradually tapers at both the ends. Example, radish. And the other is napiform roots. The primary root is almost spherical at the base and tapers lower end. Example, beetroot and turnip. And another is tuberous roots. The primary root becomes thick and fleshy but do not attain any definite shape. Example, 4 o'clock plant. Nodulated taproots. In this, the secondary, tertiary and sometimes primary roots bear many small irregular swellings called as root nodules. Example, groundnut, clover and pea plant. And the next is nematophores. These are special roots that develop in mangrove plants. The respiratory roots grow vertically upwards and are negatively geotropic. Modifications of adventitious roots. The adventitious roots are modified to perform additional functions like food, storage and mechanical support. Tuberous root. These are swollen without any definite shape. Fasciculated roots. These arise in clusters from the base of the stem. Monoliform roots. Swollen at regular intervals like beads of a necklace. Annulated roots which resemble the shape of the rings. Nodulous roots. These roots have swellings occur only near the tip. Prop roots. The prop roots grows as a horizontal branches of the stem and grow vertically downward, and they become thick pillar-like and provide mechanical support to the giant trees. Slit roots. These are small, thick, supporting roots growing from the basal nodes of the main stem. Climbing roots. These roots are found in climbers. Example, ivy and pothos. Assimilatory roots. These roots have chlorophyll and can synthesize food. Example, aerial or hanging roots of some orchids. Parasitic roots. These roots occur in parasitic plant for absorbing nourishment from their host. Functions of root. Its primary functions are anchorage of the plant, absorption and dissolved minerals, and conduction of these to the stem and storage of reserve food. Roots absorb water and nutrients from the soil. They anchor the plant firmly. They help in storing food and nutrients. Roots transport water and minerals to the plant. The stem. What are the features that distinguish a stem from a root? The stem is the ascending part of the axis bearing branches, leaves, flowers and fruits. It develops from the plumule of the embryo of a germinating seed. The stem bears nodes and internodes. The region of the stem where leaves are born are called as nodes, while internodes are the portions between two nodes. The stem bears buds which may be terminal or axillary. Stem is generally green when young and lateral often become woody and dark brown. The main function of the stem is spreading out branches bearing leaves, flowers and fruit. It conducts water, mineral and photosynthesis. Some stems perform the functions of storage of food, support, protection and of vegetative propagation. The stem is the ascending part of the axis bearing branches, leaves, flowers and fruits. It shows distinction into nodes and internodes, where node is the region from where leaves are born and the internodes are the region between two nodes. And forms of stem. Stem may be aerial, subaerial or underground. The aerial systems have two forms, that is reduced stem and erect stem. Reduced stem means it is reduced to a small disc. The nodes and internodes are not distinguished. Example, carrot, radish, turnip, etc. In erect stems, these stems are very strong enough to remain erect or upright without any external support. Subaerial stems. In subaerial stems, some parts lives underground, whereas the remaining part of the stem is aerial. Upright weak stems. These stems are very weak, which climb up a support to expose their foliage and reproductive organs. Examples, twinners. These are long, slender and very sensitive and coil round an upright support on coming in contact. Example, lab and dolichos. And climbers. These have weak and flexible stem which climb up a support with the help of certain clasping or clinging structures. Example, bougainvillea.